All right, welcome to another episode of Dive into Real Estate Investing for Newbies podcast. I have a very special guest, a friend. He's an author. He has his own podcast, Real Estate Investing Mastery podcast, software REI Simple that I actually use, and just a real good guy and a go giver. Just really give back. So I like to welcome to the show, Joe Mccall.
Hey, Cecil, how are you, man? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Joe, just thank you for being on the show, man. I think you have given so much, and you've always putting out content, free content on social media that helped me, has helped a lot of people. And again, I don't know, I can say that. I don't know if I can say that more than enough. I appreciate
Thank you.
everything that you've given. So, can you just tell us how you started? And you are a systems guy, and I love it because you have, I mean, so many people have, like I said, have learned from you. Can you just tell us how you started and pretty much break it down of what you're doing now and
Yeah.
actually what you're doing in this market with everything going on with COVID-19?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I kind of I started. I went to college. Well, let me rewind a little bit just to put some context into this. My dad was a janitor all his life, and solid. I mean, strong dad. I had a good family, even though they divorced and split up. But he worked at McDonald's, and then became a janitor, and then owned his own cleaning business. And so I grew up in a mobile home trailer park, pretty poor, but I never knew I was poor because my dad worked so hard, took care of us. Looking back, I mean, we couldn't even afford salsa, so I would eat ketchup. I'd have ketchup on my tacos.
Right.
But I just grew up with a real good work ethic, and but I knew also I didn't want to be a janitor, and then I didn't want to have to work on nights like my dad did. So I knew I wanted to go to college. So I think I was the first guy in my family to go to college. And so it took me like 8 years to get my bachelor's degree too. Like, because I went to community college part-time, and then I took some time off. I went to a Bible college for a year, and then 2 years. And then I went back to school, took some internships, met my wife, got married, went to Prague for 6 months. And so I finally graduated with an engineering degree. And I've always been interested in systems and stuff. And fast forward, after I graduated about 4 or 5 years, I was working as a civil engineer, working on big power plants for construction companies and stuff. Fast forward actually just a year or two after I graduated, I already knew I did not want to, the whole vision of climbing the corporate ladder. I looked at where that ladder was leaning on, and I didn't want that. I looked at the middle managers I was working for. These guys were working harder than anybody else. They were the first ones in, the last ones to leave. They had the most pressure, the most stress. And, there's only one guy at the top, and there's hundreds of middle managers, and I just looked at like my chances of climbing this corporate ladder to be a middle manager, probably never getting to this top spot. Like, I have zero interest in that. So I started really thinking about, when I read this book called Who Moved My Cheese, and really, really good book. I recommend people read it. And I thought, well, the cheese is moving. Where is it moving to? I've always been thinking about that. So I had a friend who was doing real estate, doing really well. And he was buying a bunch of the, I don't know if you remember or heard of the name Russ Whitney. He had some courses back then,
Yeah.
early
Yes.
2000s. And so he started doing real estate, buying duplexes and really loving it. And so I thought, I like this idea of real estate. I started studying it. I started reading books, started buying courses on eBay because I couldn't afford the big new courses, but I could buy the reused ones on eBay. Find out later they're just copies of the originals. But anyway, so I started really studying, and then finally, about 6 years after I graduated, bought my first property with a bank loan. Started buying real estate, started buying properties with bank loans. And even back then, if you could fog a mirror, you could buy a house and get a loan. So I reached a limit where I couldn't buy anymore. So I started studying some more, like how can I buy properties without getting a bank loan? So I started studying lease options and owner financing and subject twos and stuff like that.